Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steph Hopper, and I'm one of the directors of the talent practice at Catfinity. And I'm joined by Celine Floyd, my co-host, who will introduce herself shortly. A few words on Catfinity. We're a global business based in the UK, in the US, various US locations, and in Sydney, Australia. And we've been helping organisations to find candidates, develop employees, and transform their business around our USP of strengths-based assessment and development for well over 16 years. Celine and I head up the talent practice, and we support organisations through the talent practice to really identify and develop their talent, all the way from those early in their career to the people at the top of the organisation. And that's all through that market-leading method of strengths. So today is another episode in honour of International Women's Day, a bit of a bonus, and one that we're really thrilled to be partnering with the Festival of the Girl on. And the reason I guess we're so thrilled is because last year we were one of the sponsors of Festival of the Girl, which is a fantastic non-for-profit initiative that, you know, is aiming to inspire and engage girls and support adults to raise children overall in a less stereotyped way. I'm going to ask Celine to talk to our lovely guests, and we'll hear a bit more about Festival of the Girl and what their aims are.
Thank you, Steph. Lovely to see you again. It is quite the bumper week this week for episodes, which is delightful. And as you said, this is a bonus, very special episode, talking about a cause which I know is very close to both of our hearts and to Catfinity as an organisation. So Celine Floyd, one of the co-directors of the talent practice, as Steph said, and my specialist area is in assessment of leadership and talent, again through that strengths-based lens. And we are joined today by two wonderful guests, Jen and Al. Jen is one of the founders of the Festival of the Girl, and Al from Nominet is one of the sponsors. Delighted to have you with us today to tell our audience a little bit more about the initiative and your views on what is a very, very important topic when we think about the future of the next generation and of our humanity, no less. So big, brilliant topic. Jen, it would be wonderful to start us off if perhaps you could tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and a bit more about Festival of the Girl, please. Over to you.
Thank you, Celine, and thank you to Steph, and thank you to Catfinity for having us today. We are delighted to be part of this bonus episode. Okay, a bit about me. So background's kind of useful so you understand where I'm coming from actually with Festival of the Girl. Mm-hmm. So I'm a leadership facilitator and psychologist, so I work in businesses. I use strengths a lot, massive fan of what Catfinity does. And over the years of my career, I've noticed in virtually every organisation I've worked with that I work a lot in resilience as well, and the confidence difference has been, in general, different between men and women. And it wasn't something that really crystallised for me, because I've always been a fairly confident individual, with other people at least, until I had my daughters. So I have one who's 6 on Saturday. It's important I mention that, obviously. And I have a 2-year-old daughter as well. And when I had my eldest, I really started to connect in my mind the influences on her right from birth, that I was questioning and thinking, there's going to be a connection here between what I'm seeing in my day-to-day and what I see from my daughter. And it started with a bowl, as I often talk about. It started with a fairy princess bowl. And I said, where's the doctor or the scientist bowl? And why am I not inspiring my baby daughter with that? Why is it all fairy princesses? And so that led me to my first not-for-profit business, which was Not Just a Princess, where we highlighted lots of women in typically male careers. And we have a website and a small clothing line where we wanted to challenge the messages there. And that led me to Festival of the Girl, to meeting Abby and Laura, my amazing co-founders. And what we decided to do, our main mission, is to make International Day of the Girl, which is the 11th of October, as big as International Women's Day. Because it needs to start sooner. So I think as all the conversations have been over this week with International Women's Day often are, we need to impact our young people the sooner the better to get rid of those stereotypes. So that's our mission. What we do is we create events. We create an annual event and lots of messaging, of course, as well. We started with our first live event in 2019, and then
Oh.
First of all of us had a baby, another one. So there's 6 girls between the 3 of us. And then, of course, COVID happened. So we went virtual. So we did a big virtual festival. And then last year we did a virtual festival as well. So because it was still a bit tentative as to whether we could go live. Fingers crossed for the future, but more on that probably later. So yeah, we're 3 years in. We've grown our brand as much as we possibly can, and we want to keep going that way. And really just to get to this group of 7 to 11-year-olds, particularly pre-secondary school, let's empower girls to realise that limitations aren't helping them, and indeed not helping boys either.
Amazing, fantastic work you've been doing, what sounds like for a few years now, and as you say, such a critical time for girls in their kind of formation of confidence, that time just before they go to secondary school, which we all remember so well. So love the work that you're doing, and presumably Al, you did too, seeing as you are a sponsor of the festival. So perhaps Al, coming to you, could tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and your involvement with Festival of the Girl.
Absolutely. So I joined Nominet a year ago, and one of the reasons for joining Nominet is its great understanding of diversity and being the best place to work. Festival of the Girl really gets in on that early and gives us the chance to open people's eyes and set examples in exciting and in interesting ways. And so that's why Nominet has been a sponsor and will continue to do so. So as a manager, a leader, an employer, at Nominet, I also sit as a non-exec on the Low Carbon Hub board. But by far and away my toughest job, and it's the worst pay, it's the toughest job, is I'm a father of 3 boys under the age of 17. And so it's not just for girls, this conversation, it's not just for parents of girls, it's for absolutely everybody. And that's why I'm delighted to be involved in this today.
Brilliant. Thank you, Al, and thank you, Jen. Great to hear the background, I guess, and also the thing that drove you, Al, to be involved. And I guess, the thing the last couple of years has taught us is we can't predict what the world's going to be like in 5 or 10 or 20 years' time. But the children that are in our families are our future leaders. And something that's often misunderstood, I think, which, Al, you've pointed to there is, having any focus on gender is all just about empowering girls, and it kind of is then anti other genders. But obviously that is not the case. And my daughter recently was called by one of her school friends a sexist. He was male, bless him. And I said, oh, that must have been an interesting conversation. And she said, well, yes, Miss Bishop sorted him out. And I said, well, the thing to remember next time, because he then went on to say, I'm sick of hearing about this girl power, girls this, girls that, girls everything. And I said, the thing to remember when someone says that to you is it's not about girls or boys, it's about girls and boys. They're both as important as each other. And it's about having a world where we're both as important as each other. But I did think it was a funny little story of our time. Anyway, on International Women's Day, I guess it's important not just to think about leaders now, but those future leaders and how we can support developing them equally and giving them the same opportunities regardless of their gender. And I know, Jen, Festival of the Girl has this particular focus on ages 7 to 11 as it's sort of a critical stage of their development. I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about why it's such a critical initiative to build on from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we, for a number of reasons, the stark research is out there that the confidence shift is around the age of 6. So, I mean, one could argue we're a bit late. We focused on that age more because of what they're able to do, though, at that stage. So I think there's actually much more to be done at a younger age as well than what we're facing, or what we're focusing on, sorry. And it's before the social media, the a lot of kids get when they go to secondary school, and the exposures, their worlds get bigger, I suppose. And what we wanted to create was something that was outside of the typical system, outside of school, something that kids can do. And I say kids actually because we want boys to come to the festival. actually. And I think that's going to be a really interesting challenge for us as we move forward. We have had some boys join in. They've got a sister often, they've joined in. But that is something that we would really like to do. I think we've got to the stage with International Women's Day where lots of men are celebrating it too. I don't think we're anywhere near that for International Day of the Girl, and I think that's really key. I completely agree with you, Al, that this is everybody's challenge. So regardless of what gender you identify with, the stereotypes don't help. And when you look at leadership, the kind of toxic masculinity of leadership, and you must do this and you must not feel, that doesn't help either. It doesn't help anyone. So it's about us as unique individuals, regardless of gender, and getting that message to kids early with an expansion of opportunity, expansion of activity, experience. That's what we're trying to do.
Brilliant. Okay. And Al, I'm just wondering, why it was that you felt supporting this festival was, I guess, a good idea, and sort of focusing on empowering girls.
There are a couple of things that are in there. One is that obviously Nominet, we're focusing in the high tech sector, but for any employer, and regardless of industry, we're looking for the brightest and the best. And so if we're doing things that exclude people from that and discriminate and put people off, then that's not going to be good for our future as as individual companies and as the country. And Future of the Girl really inspires and demonstrates opportunities to keep people in that conversation, and they do it in exciting and engaging ways. So one thing is it just keeps that pool of talent or future talent open to us. The second thing is that actions speak louder than words, and we get we see whether it's greenwashing, gender washing, or any of the types of washing that we get, is that talk is cheap, but action is priceless, and sponsorship is very, very reasonable. And I'll let Jen talk about that in a bit. But the other thing that it does is it says something to our current employees, and if we're getting involved in these things, and as I say, money, participation, and support, it says to our employees that diversity in every dimension is important to us, and that's why we get involved at this stage.
Brilliant. And I'm wondering, is something in your mission there also around your own sons at home and bringing them up to be feminists, maybe, Al, or am I being controversial?
It's about creating the space, and as well as bringing people into the conversation, we've got to have the conversations around people stopping the conversation. And so regardless of where they are in their career or in their education, it's about respect and inclusion. And so one of the things that it really struck me years ago, 2014, was the Always Like a Girl campaign, and that changed the way that I talk to my boys, and using like a girl was perceived to be an insult, and it isn't in our house anymore. And actually, the language that we use is really important. I'm not going to claim all the way to feminists, but we're conscious of the language that we use, and that goes from the dinner table to the boardroom, and it has to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's language is so important, and we know that stereotypes, as we've already mentioned in this conversation, also has a big role to play. And I loved your bowl story, Jen, that you described at the beginning. And I think stereotypes have a lot to answer for. And what's struck me, Al, I'm also a parent of boys. I've got 2 boys, 4 and 2. And I remember with my eldest, when he got his first invite to a party at his preschool, and he must have been like 2.5, 3. And it was a superheroes and princess party, and him wanting to go as a prince, which in itself is like,
yeah,
he wanted to go as a princess, and being struck by the absolute brilliance of the fact that he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And I already see him now as a 4-year-old not being as comfortable doing that. So something is happening in these early formative years, which is having a massive impact on how people see, how these children see themselves. But we know that they do permeate society, and that adults have a huge role to play in starting to break some of this down. And so I've got a couple of questions for you related to that. The first, which I'd love your view on, is around this sense of empowerment. How can we better empower our children, our future leaders, regardless of their gender? How can we make them feel empowered? Al, I'll come to you first on that. What are some of the things that you think we could be doing to help?
I think what the biggest thing there is we've got to listen.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to listen to what people are saying, and not listen to reinforce our own stereotypes or our own biases, but listen to really understand what they're coming from. We're not making new old people, but we're making lots of new young people, and so they're going to be mathematically a big part of the demographic. They're our future customers, they're our future employees, they're our future advocates, and really listening to what they've got to say is vitally important. And one of the things that I know works well is reverse mentoring, and you can start that at a really early age. And regardless of where you are in an organization, regardless of what you're doing, the world of technology is changing, the world of social media is changing. It's great to get a 12-year-old to sit down and explain what it's all about and coach you on it. And so if we listen more than we tell, I think it'll stand us in a good position, and I think that will empower the leaders of the future.
Love that. If only we could all do that better. That's a thing that runs through a lot of our episodes, doesn't it, Steph? And Jen, does that echo some of your thinking around empowerment?
Yeah, absolutely. Get more kids on boards. I know you didn't necessarily mean that literally, Al, but I think there'd be something amazingly fresh thinking if we did do that. I think for me, it's around teaching all kids and all adults, all peers, to question their choices. I don't mean constantly second guess ourselves, but be curious about, well, I feel like I want to do that, so why do I want to do that? Where's that come from? If it is princess or superhero, what else could I go as? Why do I feel uncomfortable about that? Do I feel uncomfortable about that? So to help them be curious about their choices. And also it's okay. My daughter always, she does wind me up because she knows it winds me up of her love. She loves princesses. She loves it. Absolutely loves Elsa as a hero. And do you know what? I'm okay with Elsa, because Elsa is a strong character whose only mission in life is not a love interest. So I'm comfortable with that. That's okay. What I want to raise her to do is question why she has that choice, why she loves princesses, why she loves pink. If she does love pink, that's fine. But what choices has she had to choose from, and has that been limited by advertising, by stereotypes, by her society? And I think that's really all we can do. And it's the same for boys too. If you feel that you love brown or dinosaurs, is that because there was only a choice of a dinosaur or a princess? What else would you like to see on your lunchbox or your whatever it may be? So I think it's about helping them question that, and that goes then into teenagehood, into adulthood, into our new recruits, into our leaders. Question the system, question where it's come from, be curious, and that will actually help you see yourself in a more objective way. So
love that. And that that sense of curiosity and questioning must be another really powerful route to starting to combat some of these stereotypes. I'm just interested in any other tactics that one has as an adult, regardless of whether we have children or don't have children. You know, what other things can we do to try to break these stereotypes down? Is there anything else that may be useful? Jen, to you to continue. Yeah, continue. Sorry, I'm not on that same thread. Thank you.
How long have we got? No, I think it is about, it's a continuing theme of curiosity. It's being mindful of what information you choose to take in. So you know, obviously this is a parental perspective, but choose what programs they're watching. You know, Daddy Pig does nothing for the male stereotype in Peppa Pig. He's dreadful. He reinforces every stereotype. So look for something else. Louis, for example. Shout out to Louis. Love it.
Louis, yeah.
So just being aware of that, you know, whether whether you've got kids or not, whether it's your what you watch, your the soap operas, the TV shows, the books you read, are the stories conforming or to stereotype, reinforcing them unnecessarily, or are they challenging them? I put up a post yesterday on LinkedIn, just rewriting the Miss Polly Had a Dolly nursery rhyme. I don't know if anyone's seen it. Because we sing Mr. Polly Had a Dolly, who was sick, and he phoned for the doctor to come quick. The doctor came with her bag and her hat, and it reads weird for a lot of people. Yeah, that's just what we do in our house. It's about more of us noticing and subtly changing so that the message gradually filters through. We got a lot to do, but I think the more we all notice, the more we can be aware of it. It's kind of like putting on 3D specs and then suddenly you see it everywhere. You can't take them off. So it's the same. There's a couple of examples.
No, that's really helpful. Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Louis is a great cartoon.
Yeah, it's really good. And Al, does that echo again things that you've had in your mind, I guess, since your involvement with this initiative and as a parent of boys specifically? Is there anything else that you found useful that may be helpful for other people to hear?
Yeah, for me, it's around checking your language and checking your biases. And that has been said, this isn't not questioning them to doubt yourself, but really to bring them to a conscious level. So if you're going to say something, or if you've got a bias, then have you got the evidence to support it? Does it make sense? You know, and are you actively using language rather than just being caught up in it and in the routine? But really, you know, it is about a lot of those biases. One of the things that we see in the workplace is we don't always stop to challenge people, and I think we've got to get better at that challenge. You said something there. What do you mean by that? Or do you realise that you said something there that might mean something to everyone? Or catching the boys saying something. I feel like I have to defend Father Pig, but I'm also going to have to watch it again to look for the evidence. But yeah, challenge those things, and as adults talking to children and trying to inspire children, you know, how do we maintain that curiosity? How do we not deal with stereotypes, which are a pretty lazy way of dealing with the world, quicker and simpler, but often wrong? And how do we get inside those things that are, you know, an unconscious bias? How do you get inside of that when it's an unconscious bias? And that's questioning other people and being open to being questioned about what we do, what we say, how we act, and the role models that we put out into the world.
Lovely. And I loved what you said earlier around actually just creating the space, because I think it's when you start speaking about this that the power happens, and perhaps also, you know, allowing people the permission to recognize what their biases are, and actually that's a really important step on the process, isn't it? I remember the first time my 2-year-old wanted to wear his nanny's lipstick, and I remember you know, even I thinking, and just recognizing that as a feeling, you know, and to know that that's okay, because we're all on this journey. And you know, and I think it's, people feel afraid, don't they, of being able to acknowledge how they feel about things. I think that's what we're saying about that space. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
I think you've all reminded me of a story. 4 years ago, I think I joined Catfinity 5 years ago. So 4 years ago, in my first year, I remember really clearly I got a birthday card from Nikki, who I work for. And I remember my daughter, who must have been 6 because she's approaching 10, saying to me, "Who's that birthday card from?" And I said, "It's from my boss." And she said, "Oh, what's his name?" And it was amazing because I'd always worked for myself in her formative years, you know, leading up to then. Her dad worked part-time. He was more the stay-at-home parent. But the fact that actually suddenly as an employee, she assumed I worked for a man, I remember being quite shocked. Just that little comment that she made. So it's amazing. So Jen, I'd love to hear a little bit about your hope for the future of Festival of the Girl and what you're looking to do next.
Okay. Sorry, I'm stuck on that story. And I've just got to say as an aside, if anyone hasn't seen the social media campaign going around about imagining a CEO and imagine someone crying in the office. Has anyone seen that on social media? It's by CBP London. I'll try and send you a link after today, but it's exactly to your point, Steph. So back to answering the question. My hope is that we reach everyone and all young kids, and that we have a festival that is about this. Honestly, my hope is that we still call it Festival of the Girl and boys come along happily because they want to be involved. I think that's optimistic, but I'm going to stick with it. In a more, that's the long-term vision, and that with global events, everybody gets involved, and that we really just want to reach everyone and help everyone be curious about stereotyping and change the message. In the shorter term, we really want to go back to a live event this October. We want to get as many girls as possible to that live event. We've got lots of ideas. We've got a campaign idea that's coming up in terms of pledges for the future. It's called the Future Girl Pledge, so watch this space when we launch it. We're also going to be at Camp Festival this year. We were invited to that, which is a bit exciting. I've never been to a festival, so I'm quite excited about that. A proper one, you know, with music. So the live event, you know, but it is expensive. So I've got to say, if anyone's out there listening and wants to help us, we're desperate for support, financial and partnership as well. You know, one of the things we're trying to do with our partners is get their employees involved. As Al said, it's actions are louder than words. We don't want to just take money. We want to get you involved. We want to get you there. So that's something that is our more shorter term hope.
Okay.
The message as far and wide as we can.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So I think in summary, this has been a great conversation, really rich. And some of the things I've heard, you know, I think we've all referenced it a few times. Al's lovely quote, "Actions speak louder than words," which is so very true. How actually being a sponsor of Festival of Girl sends a really strong message to employees about actually valuing equality and really putting our money where our mouths are as organisations as well. And I'd forgotten about the mention that Al made of, you know, the like a girl, that being a negative connotation. And I guess that was something that we all talked about, wasn't it? The language choices we use at home and at work, you know, being more conscious of them, and then just being curious of the choices that we make, but also our children make, and getting them to question their own choices and think that through as well. If there was a final thing that you wanted to say to our audience today, would Al, you'd like to go first, just to bring this to a close?
Really quickly, leadership is a contact sport, whether you're doing it in the home or in the office. And so you need to take action. It's not about saying things, it's about doing things. Festival of the Girl is not just for girls. It's for everyone. And get involved and help support Festival of the Girl. And at Nominet, we'd be happy to talk to anybody who's considering getting involved and what it means to us as an organisation. And
Brilliant.
Sign up.
Thank you, Al. And Jen, your final word to the audience.
I think it's going to be, don't be afraid of this. And if I borrow a quote from Barack Obama, famous feminist, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We can all do something.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen. And Celine.
Just, it's wonderful that this initiative is happening. It's one of those, you ponder where this was 10 years ago. I love it. Your mission and your purpose is phenomenal. As a mum of boys, I back this on behalf of my sons, as well as daughters and goddaughters that I have, because this is important for our collective future. So yeah, wonderful work. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you, Al. Best of luck with the festival this year. We'll certainly be cheering you on from the sidelines at Catfinity, and I guess we look forward to seeing our viewers next week. We have an episode on psychological safety and inclusion with Nick Cresswell and Helen Jewell. So really looking forward to that. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.